What's up, guys? Nate again. And last night I was watching a video by FemTrooper, and she was talking about video game rentals and her upbringing with renting games. And like a lot of us, you know, the only way to really experience a game back in the day was to rent one. We had magazines and occasionally like a videotape or something, but you couldn't really get a good experience from a game except for, you know, renting it if you didn't want to plop down the full purchase price for a brand new game. But so for most kids, that's all we had. We had rentals. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that today and just my past experience with rental stores. And I don't know if it'll be interesting to anybody, but fuck it, why not? So when I was a kid, there was a store near my house called Farmore, and it was a rather large like drugstore slash grocery store. And in the back of the store, they had a little section for movie rentals and a relatively decent sized section for games. The game rentals were super cheap. They were like 69 cents for a few days, like 3 or 4 days. So my mom would go shopping there, and she would basically just dump me off in the back of the store to like browse through games, because, you know, as a kid, it takes forever to pick out a game because you have to look at the back of every box, and it's a process, and it took some time. At least for me, it took some time. So I'd go through and look at the back of all the boxes, and normally I'd pick out something stupid like a Tengen game like Alien Syndrome, which I guess is not a bad game, but I'd always pick the unlicensed carts from that store, maybe because like they were interesting shaped cartridges and looked different from the other ones, or I don't know why I was drawn to those, but I always kind of was. And maybe because Blockbuster or other stores that around me didn't have those games, so I would get things like Quattro Adventure, which in retrospect is a decent little game too. There's a few good unlicensed games, and I guess the ones that I remember fondly are ones that I rented from Farmore. I'm pretty sure they were a chain. I don't know how far they reached nationwide, but we definitely had one near my house, and didn't last that many years, I don't think. I remember it shutting down when I was still pretty young, probably 92, before the Super Nintendo came out for sure, or maybe around the same time, because I don't remember renting Super Nintendo games from there, just NES. And I guess if you can rent games for 69 cents, you're not going to stay in business very long. So rest in peace, Farmore. You were a big part of my childhood. We also had a few other video stores. Obviously, Blockbuster was a big one. I remember renting a lot of games from there. Even rented a Virtual Boy from Blockbuster at one point for my birthday in like 95, I guess. I really wanted to try it out for whatever reason. I don't know. It was a Virtual Boy, and at the time I was 13 years old, and that shit looked awesome. I don't care. Fight me. Well, as we all know, it wasn't too great. But I think the rental fee for that was like $20, and I got one game. It was Mario's Tennis. I probably played the whole thing for 15 minutes total, and then it sat there for the rest of the rental period. So probably didn't get our money's worth, but that's all right, I suppose. We also had another video store down the street that was owned by one of our neighbors. That was called Home Video, and Home Video used to have, I don't know if you guys remember the rental cases that had the generic artwork of like the wrestler on it. I'll try to find a picture of one and put it up here. But it had the instructions for the game and the title and like this cheesy wrestling guy artwork. And I have super high nostalgia for those plastic clamshells, and I'd love to find one. I think I've seen them before, like on eBay floating around. So maybe I'll pick one up one day, because it's just one of those things that's really, it hits me in the nostalgia harder than a lot of things. But I remember renting a lot of games from there. Since my neighbors did own the store, we would get a little bit of preferential treatment, I suppose. So if there was games I was looking for that were always out at Blockbuster or whatever, I would just tell my neighbor. They'd be like, okay, well, when it comes in, we'll call you. So that's cool. So I've got to rent a lot of games that were usually really popular and were always checked out. So things like Mega Man 3 you could never find in stock, at least around my town. So I got to rent that from them. DuckTales, a few other, you know, big name games that were harder to find in a rental store because they were popular and everybody wanted to play them. But There was also another store a little bit further from my house called Prime Video, and I don't remember anything about that store except for the fact that I rented Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from there one time. And why that sticks with me, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But it's just one of those memories that I associate Mike Tyson's Punch-Out with this stupid video rental store that I went to maybe twice in my entire life. And there's a lot of games that I do that with, where I'll have a place or just a certain memory of a game, and I can almost visualize the location where I played it or rented it from, or I don't know. I'm sure other people have a similar experiences to that I do, but I don't know. Just interesting to me. Maybe not to you, but whatever. So yeah, I guess around 96 or 97, once the N64 was out, I kind of stopped renting games. I may have every now and then, but I don't really have many memories of renting like PlayStation or PS2. But like I said, I probably did rent a few, but most of my rentals were from the NES and SNES era, or Genesis too. I had a Genesis growing up before I got a Super Nintendo. But I don't know, just there's something about the experience of renting a game that you can't have anymore. I know you can get them from Redbox, but you put money in a machine and it pops out a disc, and I don't know, there's a lost charm to that somewhere, and I don't know. I know rentals were a product of their time. We have the internet now. We have any information you need on a game has already been released months before the game is even out, so the point of renting a game is kind of moot at this point. But I don't know, there was just something fun about begging my parents to take me to Blockbuster or take me to Home Video to rent a new game, and I don't know, I'll never get to experience that again, but I'm an adult, I guess I can't, but I would love for my kid to experience that one day. But I guess if she wants to play a game, she can just come down here and pick a game off the shelf, because I don't have a shortage of those for sure. Anyways, guys, that is my experience from renting games as a child. I know you guys probably have some similar experiences. Mine's nothing really noteworthy. It's it's a kid going to rental stores as a kid, but I don't know, there's something charming about that in retrospect now, and something that I think is lost to the ages, unfortunately. But if you guys have any experiences similar to mine, please leave a comment below. I'd always love to hear stories about anybody else's childhood and their experience with renting games, or if you have any other fun stories, just let me know below. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.